So you mentioned that during your time at Amazon, like it sounded like one of the best things or the best experiences was this exposure to community and events and more of the open source space. And then from Amazon, you went over to HPE and joined their OSPO, or rather, they call it, I think, Open Program Office. So was this kind of a coincidence that you got a job at the Open Program Office, or was this something that you were specifically looking for to be able to now not just work with the OSPO slash OPPO, or but rather be an integral part of it?
It was definitely an objective. So, as I mentioned, the open source program office at Amazon was fantastic, and I loved working with them. So I was starting to look for how can I do more open work. Now, they didn't have a rec available within their own OSPO to put me into that place. And at the same time, the other legal jobs that I had as being part of the products team were crowding out some of the time I could spend on open source. So I was looking for another opportunity. At this time, Mark Atwood, who had formerly worked at HPE, said, "Hey, I heard my former boss, Paul Holland, is looking for a new open source compliance manager. Would you be interested in this?" And Phil, you worked with Paul, right?
And Mark.
Okay, great. So you work with both of them. So Mark said, "Why don't I introduce you to Paul and see if it works out?" And it did. And so the last 3.5 years are history now.
I mean, again, the power of community and knowing people, I think it's just continuously underestimated. And very often the world turns out to be a small place in terms of, oh, I know that person too. And even within global communities, people move around, and when you meet someone from one place, then you will meet them in a different community, different area. And it's just nice to have these sometimes friendships that just last forever. So as you went over to HPE, in your experience, how did your day to day change? Like what was different between the companies and the job that you were doing?
Good question. So as I transitioned from going from law, being part of a legal department, to now moving over to the business side of things. And at the time I joined HPE, we were still an OSPO, so it was an open source program office at that time. It's the first time in my career that I could say 100% of my bandwidth was dedicated to open source issues. Up until that point, open source was always something that I engaged in. Sometimes it would consume 100% of my bandwidth, depending on what project I was working on or a due diligence that was in effect at the time. But it was never year to year 100% of what I was doing. I was always layering in either other general lawyer duties or intellectual property or software licensing tasks into the mix. So now I get to work 100% on open source. And as part of that day job, I am now finding the ability to engage more and more in communities that I didn't really have the bandwidth for when I was at Amazon, and that I was only just starting to get a taste of through exposure to their OSPO. Now I could see where the value was in integrating into these communities because it enables me to make those connections for other people.